Today, on Be Something Wonderful, the unreality of 3D reality. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Lots of amazing sessions over the last couple days, and I want to talk about a few of them that had some really powerful questions on the idea of ignoring 3D conditions or 3D reality or the manifested conditions. And in both these cases, one of them was a young man who in his words, said that he has a chronic illness. And then another from a woman that has a manifestation of a bodily appearance that she wants to change, that is now what she calls undesired. And in both these cases, they were making the argument, again, arguing for your limitations, which we all do, that it's difficult not to look at these conditions. It's difficult to turn away from them. It's difficult to ignore them, to ignore 3D reality, to ignore these current manifested conditions, because they're seeing them every day, they're feeling them. So guys, I want to talk about this today and more. Here's really what I want to say, that it's not so much about denying the 3D conditions. And it's not about getting rid of the current reality or running away from it or even turning away from it. The idea is much bigger than that. The idea is recognizing, hear this, the unreality of the current 3D conditions. Whew, that's big, right? Recognizing that there's a greater reality, a truth behind, beneath, and back of all 3D conditions, all temporary 3D conditions. That's what we're talking about. It's not saying that, oh, I don't see them, or what one of you said, I feel like I'm in denial if I say I don't see it and I don't feel it. It's not about that. Let's unpack this like we never have before. So I want to start with the resurrection of Lazarus, because it always is rich with teachings. And in this case, I want to talk about this from what Jesus said before he arrived at the tomb of Lazarus and resurrected Lazarus from the dead. Here's what he said to his disciples: Lazarus is dead, but let us go to him. Wow! This is what Jesus said. Jesus is not ignoring the condition there. He's not mincing words. He says Lazarus is dead. Now remember, here's the big takeaway here. Jesus recognized the unreality of death, the unreality of 3D conditions, the temporal nature of 3D conditions. He recognized the greater reality behind it, the Father, or infinite intelligence, right? He called this withdrawal of consciousness from the body sleep. Here's what he says before that: our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go so that I may awaken him out of sleep. Wow! So hear this. He's referring to death. That death, our biggest fear, right? Our biggest manifestation, fear of a physical 3D manifestation. He's calling that sleep. Here he says Lazarus is dead. He's not mincing words. Jesus wasn't ignoring or trying to tune out. As one of you said, it's difficult to tune out of 3D conditions. Rather, he was recognizing them as one quantum possibility out of an infinite number of possible realities. And then calling forth out of that infinite intelligence, out of that quantum field, out of that field of infinite possibilities where everything's possible, the desired reality, the true reality as he sees it, the truth of who you are, that you are life, and more abundant than you can possibly imagine. That's big. So Jesus understood his unity and oneness with infinite intelligence, or the Father, what he called the Father, or God, right? That whatever you think, believe, and assume into it, it must be reflected without. This is the law of correspondence. This is what the Kabbalion talks about, right? The law of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This is what the ancients were saying. That infinite intelligence, the Father, all that is, there's nothing outside of it. There's nothing outside of it. All is in it, or contained within it. But hear this, all is in the all all that is, or infinite intelligence, but it's equally true that, this is what the ancients said, the all is in the all, is in all. So the all, or all that is in all other things, including you. Do you hear this? That's why you can correspond. It's not that God, infinite intelligence, God responds to every word, every prayer, everything that you ask for. But how does it respond? By corresponding, by making itself into what you desire out of itself. That's correspondence. So how do you ask? By corresponding with that, by becoming one with that infinite intelligence, that one mind. Wow, all is in the all. But it's equally true that the all is in all. Wow. That's big. Just rest on that for a second, guys. As above, so below. As below, so above. Wow. So infinite intelligence always responds to you by corresponding. In other words, by becoming what you desire out of itself through you. So it's you becoming what you desire out of you. Or infinite intelligence of God corresponding, becoming what you desire out of itself through you. That's the law of correspondence. That's what the law of attraction, the law of resonance, the law of cause and effect, what do they all mean? All of it comes down to corresponding, right? With that infinite intelligence within you. Wow. It is done unto you as you believe. In other words, as you think and assume, it's done unto you. What do? Nothing but correspond, right? It's done unto you. It's done for you, through you, as you think and assume into it. Father, Jesus gave us the key when he was before the tomb of Lazarus, then he said, remove the stone. Where the dead body was, remove the stone. Jesus wasn't mincing words, wasn't running away from 3D conditions. He was recognizing the greater reality. How did he do it? Father, I thank you that you have heard me. Right? Recognition of this divine power, recognition that his prayers are already answered, recognition that these 3D conditions or Lazarus' dead body is an unreality, and that the true reality behind it is his eternal body, is eternal life, right? And again, gratitude in advance. Father, I thank you that you have heard me. That gratitude in advance, right? That knowing in advance. I knew that you always hear me. Now Jesus is realizing his unity with infinite intelligence, recognizing the divine intelligence, recognizing Father or God, unifying with it. I knew that you always hear me. Before they call, I will answer, right? And then the command, then you choosing, adopting, occupying that new reality. Lazarus, come forth, choosing to occupy the new version of yourself, commanding within. That's powerful. Wow. So, and this is what Jesus says. Do you not believe that I am the Father and the Father is in me? The Father abiding in me does the work. Again, recognizing what the ancients said, that the all is in the all, and it's equally true that the all is in all. Wow. It's equally true the all is in all, right? So above, as below, as above, so below. As below, so above. This is what it's talking about. You imagine, the imaginal act of your desired end is within the one mind of God. It exists, right? The image exists in your mind. So hear this, your imaginal act, your image, that imaginal act of your desired end is within the one mind of God. It exists there as you imagine it, as you go into your imagination, as you make that assumption, right? The image exists in your mind, therefore it exists in God's mind. That unity, right? All is in the all, but it's equally true that the all is in all, right? But also, you abide within, you exist in, and you remain in that mental image. So not only is that mental image within you, in the mind of God, you exist within that mental image. Wow! That's what true law of correspondence means. You've got to be it to correspond with it, right? It's the inner recognition, the inner realization, the inner manifestation of the Spirit of God, infinite intelligence within you that's reflected without. Let me hit that again. It's the inner recognition, the inner realization, the inner manifestation of the Spirit of God or infinite intelligence within you that reflects without. Wow. That's the law of correspondence, right? What you see when you look at something, this is Neville Goddard, beautiful here, beautiful as he talks about the law of assumption in the law of correspondence at the same time. What you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. Hear this. Remember, assumptions are only thoughts or beliefs. But when we think of beliefs, we think of them as hard and fast and hard to change. They're simply assumptions. Beliefs are simply assumptions that you can change at any moment, and they're new in every moment. We just sometimes think beliefs are so solid that they can't be accessed or changed. They're merely assumptions that you make when you look at something. Wow. So what you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. Nothing is outside your perceptual experience of it. Wow. What we believe to be the real physical world is actually only an assumptive world. What are you assuming when you look? What are you assuming when you go within? What are you assuming when you walk around in 3D reality? It's an assumptive world, right? These are not hard, fast, solid beliefs that you can't change, that are there forevermore. They're made in the moment. Assumptions are made in the moment of now, right? What appears to be the solid reality is actually the result of expectations or assumptions. Neville got it. Now he says expectations. That's what we're talking about, expectations, assumptions. These are not solid, unchangeable beliefs that you have to live with. In every now moment, you get to decide what you're going to expect or assume as your 3D reality. It all comes from within you. Wow. So, and remember, Pilate says to Jesus, this is when they captured Jesus, arrested him, and the next day they were going to crucify him, right? So Pilate remember, represents the 3D world or the lower mind, and Jesus represents your higher self, your I am. This is what Pilate says to him when he asks Jesus, who are you? Asks him a question. Jesus, of course, doesn't recognize him, doesn't respond. And this is what Pilate says. This is your 3D world, your lower mind. You do not speak to me? In other words, the I am, your higher self, recognizes the unreality of the 3D world, does not answer him because it's an unreality. The I am does not recognize any authority of the 3D self or the 3D world to question its power or its divinity. Wow. Do you feel the power in that? That Jesus wasn't looking away. Jesus saw Pilate. He sees the 3D world. He sees the conditions. Yet he does not speak. Yet you do not speak to me. He does not recognize the authority of it. Right? Wow. Jesus, I am to Pilate, or the 3D self. This is what Jesus finally says. You would have no authority over me unless it had been given from above. Wow. Jesus only recognized the power from above or within, not the 3D conditions. Wasn't trying to ignore them, hide from them, run away from them. He accepted them as one possible potential, one infinite possibility in a ultimate reality of infinite possibilities, and called forth the desired reality from above. 3D conditions only appear to have power below and without. I am is the source and is the truth and is the master of the inner world. You are above and within. That is the unreality of 3D reality. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group, a metaphysical group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. You can find us there on facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. It's a totally open group where you can share insight and guidance or give insight and guidance to others, share your success stories and other ideas. It's an unbelievable, great group. Join that today. Also, follow us and join us on Instagram at Tom Karen and on Twitter at Tom Karen. Or just go to our website anytime at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com, where all that information is and more. Creators with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude. See you soon.